good morning. We will pay attention to the calculation of the value of inventory when the FIFO method is used and the perpetual inventory system is used. FIFO means first in, first out. That means the inventory that was purchased first will be sold first, and the closing inventory will always consist of the last purchases. Because we're using the perpetual inventory system, we have to calculate what is the cost of sales after every transaction. You determine cost of sales and you record it in your inventory account so that you can determine what is your closing inventories. Because we are using this perpetual system, we will open columns for units purchased, cost of sales, and the balance of the inventory on hand. When the perpetual inventory system is used, the cost price of the goods would be determined every time when inventories are sold. That's very important. The value of the inventory, so what is available when goods are purchased, returned, or sold, will also be calculated every time. So if we look at these entries, the first one indicates that there are 10 items at R4 each. Therefore, in the table that we're going to complete to determine what is the value of our inventories, we will show that the opening value is 40 units, R4 each, will give us a total of 40 Rand. And that is my first group of articles that must be sold. Then on April the 1st, we purchase goods again, 30 items at R6 each. So in the purchases column, I must indicate that the number of units increased with 30. The cost is R6 each, so the total purchases increased with 180 Rand. Now we've got a group 2 that we will sell secondly, that consists of our purchases on the 1st of April. On the 1st of May, we return some of these goods that we purchased on the 1st of April. So that means I have to show that my purchases decrease. So under purchases column, I will show that 10 units were returned. The original price was R6, so my cost for purchases will decrease with 60 Rand. And in my balance column, I will show that I still have that 10 that I had there is still available because we haven't sold anything. But now this number 2 will change. Because we had 30 units of group number 2, we returned 10 units, so there's now only 20 units left over in group number 2 that originally cost R6. So that means the value of those units available is 120 Rand. On May the 3rd, we sell goods, and we sell 25 items at 20 Rand each. Now remember, you mustn't use the sales price in this column. Everything in this calculation is about inventory, and inventory is always recorded at cost price. So this sales price of 20 will be used when we want to determine what is the total sales at the end of the exercise. At the moment, we must just show that we've sold 25 units. Now remember, because it's first in, first out, we have to sell our first articles first. So group 1 will be sold, and I will show that we will sell those 10 units that cost R4, so the cost price of my sales is 40 Rand. We are selling 25 units, so it means out of group number 2, I have to take an additional 15 units. So in group number 2, I will show that we've taken 15 units, and the cost price of those units was R6 each, so it's 90 Rand. Now we don't have any of the units in number 1 left over, so my group number 2 will consist of that 20 units that we had there, minus the 15 that we sold, So there are 5 units left over with a cost price of R6. So the total value of my inventory on hand at the moment is R30. If we look at the next entry, we purchased goods on the 10th of May, 190 units at R7 each. So that means that I must show under purchases 190 units at R7 each. And we will also show in the balance that we have a third group now of 190 units that cost R7 each. Then we sell goods again, and this sales is 50 items that we sell at R20 each again. So if we look at the units that we have available, we see that in group 2 we still have 5 units available. In group 3 we have 90 units available. So I first have to sell that 5 units that's available in group 2. So I will show that 5 units that cost R6 will be sold, and the cost price of that sales is R30. We sell in total 50 units, so it means out of this group number 3, we have to take the additional 45 units with a cost price of R7 each. So the cost price of the 45 units sold is R315. Now we have to determine how many units do we have left over in number 3. There was 190 units. We sold 45 units, so it means there's left over 145 units that cost R7 each, and the total value is now 1015. Then we have sales returns. So some of the customers are not satisfied with the goods that they bought on the 15th, and they return 10 units at R20 each. Remember that R20 again is the sales price, so we don't record the sales price. We look what was the cost price of the articles. They're returning 10, so I have to show that the number that came back is 10, so we've sold 10 less, and it means that my total cost of sales will decrease with 70. We had 145 units. Now 10 of those units come back, so it means now we have 155 units. Then I take the value of the units, 1015, plus the R70 that came back, and I say my closing inventory is worth 1085. So if we want to calculate my closing inventory, I look at the inventory that's left over at the end of the year, and that is the 1085. If I want to determine what is my gross profit, I have to work out what is the sales price. So we look at all the entries where we sold goods. Here we sold 25 articles, the sales price was 20. And then we sold 50 at 20. And then 10 of them came back, so we have to subtract the 10. And that will give me a total sales figure of 1,300. The cost of sales is the total that we calculated in this column. So all my goods that were sold were recorded in the cost of sales column. The returns were recorded there. So the total expense for cost of sales is 405. So I add a gross profit of 4110. On this page, I recorded an explanation of each transaction that opened. So if there's opening inventory, you will not record it in the purchases column because it was purchased in previous months. It will be recorded in the balance column immediately. When goods are purchased, the entry is recorded in the purchases column so that the cost of purchases can increase, and that you can indicate in the balance column that there are a second batch that can be sold. When goods are returned to creditors, we have to show in our purchases column that my total purchases decreases, and in the balance column I will also show that I've got less goods available because we returned it. We had 30 units, now we only have 20 units. When goods are sold, you will first take the batch 1 units and sell all of them, and then you will take the remaining units from batch number 2. Every time when goods are purchased, you will record it in the purchases column to increase cost of purchases, and in the balance column to indicate a next batch that's available. When goods are sold, the goods will be from the last batch, and because there was nothing left over from batch number 1 and 2, and you will indicate what in the balance column how many units are available. So it means every time when you purchase goods, you will record it in the purchases column. If you return goods to the creditors, you will also record it in the purchases column in brackets to show that the number of units reduced and that the cost of the goods purchased reduced. If you sell goods, you will record it in the cost of sales column, and if the debtors return goods, you will also record it in the cost of sales column.